Have you guys noticed how everybody's saying it's so hard to get in the home now because of rates or prices or whatever the case may be? You know, I just find it's just not true based upon what I know. In fact, the other day I was reading in an article that was posted here on our local news agency that it's so difficult that Utah is one of the top 10 cities that's challenging for new home buyers. You know what? I don't know what this person was reading exactly stuff, but they must have checked out some statistics and thought, you know what, this might be a good article I could write. And so they put it together and warned everybody that how bad it is, but simply not true, because I don't think they're really into real estate like I am. And I want to spend a few moments with you just to kind of show you as proof that it's not that hard to get into a home if you really know what to do and how to get into it. And with the help of a professional, they can make life pretty much easier for your buying needs and interests. So let's look at a couple things when it comes to buying a home and stop worrying about all the fears, the anxieties, the uncertainties and stuff like that. They're always going to exist no matter what kind of market we're in. But the fact is, you probably still need to buy and sell a home. So let's figure out how to help you do that. So first thing is the credit score. Common misnomer is that I've got to have a great credit score, 600 or 700, whatever. The truth is, we can get you into a home for as low as 580 credit score. And that by doing that, you'll be able to qualify for a traditional home. However, the interest rates for those kind of loans might be a little bit higher because you're at a little bit greater risk to the lenders. But, it is what it is. Point is, you can still get into a home without paying all that rent that you probably currently are because you don't think you can qualify. Well, the next thing I want to bring your attention to is called FHA loan. This is a Federally Housing Association loan that is written and provided to us through the federal government. And this type of loan, they'll lend up to 96.5% of the home's value. Well, that's, I think, pretty dang awesome, because that means that you, as a buyer, only have to come with 3.5%. However, we have an option for that too, but that's a very minimal down. It's not like the 20 and 30,000 I always hear from buyers. I got to have all this money to put on a home to get in it. Just not true. Nor would I ever advise anybody to take a chunk of change, put in a home. Reason is if they need access to that for some future issue, they can't even get to it because they got to try to pull back out. And if they have credit issues, you can't touch it. So don't put a pile of cash on a home unless you really want to. That's cool. A program to help with that FHA loan is called Utah Housing. And what they offer is a secondary loan to the FHA loan. And this will cover the remaining 3.5 balance. Now, you do have to have a credit score of 620, okay? But that's not that high either. And we can help you build your credit. There's some things to do that. And if you get a hold of me, I'll tell you some quick and easy and free, no cost ways to do so. So technically at that point, you do have 100% financing. How cool is that, right? The next part of a loan is called the annual mortgage insurance or premiums. Now this kind of came about when the market had its tough times back in 2006 to 2009, where the federal government had to step in and pay all these default mortgages, because they were everywhere. That time just sucked. I know I was involved with it, and it was a terrible time for everybody. Well, the good news is that at the beginning of this year, that the federal government changed it was 0.85% to 0.55%. So it's gone down. So now it's even more favorable for you to get into the loan program, like I was telling you before. Now there's another topic that constantly comes up. It's called closing costs. Now this is not the same thing as money down. They're totally two different concepts or ideas. And please don't get them confused with each other, because they're simply not the same. We've already talked about the money down, and we can cover that, right? But this is a closing cost. And what are they? They're basically fees associated with your loan. So these fees come in the form of title insurance, attorney's fees, appraisals, taxes, and those kind of things. And that's just what you have to have to consider when buying a home. Now, how much are they? Well, sometimes people use a factor of about 3%. But that's not true either, because if you're going to buy, say, a $700,000 home at 3%, you're paying a lot more than you would, say, for a $200,000, which would be maybe $6,000. On average, you can expect to go up to about $6,000 or $8,000 on those closing costs. So The 3% is just kind of a rule, but don't hold fast to that because it's not true. Now, another thing you can consider is the interest rate buy down. You probably hear a lot of that now on the market because of where we're at as far as interest rates. And there's different programs. There's a 2-1 buy down, 3-1 buy down. I've even seen a 7-1 buy down. And what it does, it buys your interest rate down by the term. So the first year, if it was at say 6% where rates are, then you would have 1 year at 4%, the next year at 5%, and the following year goes back to the full rate. However, what we're seeing is that based upon projections, that within a year or so, rates should get back down to maybe the 4.5 range. They will never go down, I don't think, to where they were before. But the point being that you can use that time and then pay the lower rate, and then when the rates get to be more affordable, just go ahead and do a free refinance. That way you lock into that rate for the remaining of your loan term, and therefore you come out ahead, right? Now there's another thing is called the point buy down. The point buy down is where a borrower wants to take a chunk of change, and it kind of depends because the market rates will determine what it's going to cost you, but you buy the interest rate down. Each day, like I said, is a little bit different. So you have to get with a lender and to find out what your point buy down options. And that starts from the beginning of the loan and goes to the end. So it's the best way rather than put a bunch of money down to get into a loan, because now it's the minimal amount of cost to do so. And I did a whole video on this. If you go to one of my videos on the YouTube, and it talks about this specific, and I'll show you the example of just how beneficial it is to buy down the mortgage. Now, another feature a lot of buyers are looking at is called group mortgage. And what is that? Is where a group of people, whether family members, friends, or whatever, will get together and use their incomes and credit scores to buy a home. So they're kind of subdividing it up, cutting up a piece of pie so it's affordable for everybody. And a lot of people are doing that because, you know, with higher prices, it makes it a little bit more challenging. But one thing I want to also let you know that there's some qualification limits when it comes to FHA. So if you're a big time home buyer in our local area, and the current limit's at roughly about $750,000, they won't loan, the FHA will not loan more than that amount. Now those can adjust over time, so keep that in mind. So that's just right now. But that is part of, you know, getting into a home. Now, I hope that you'll find this information useful. Share it with people and realize that the housing industry isn't as bad as all the naysayers are saying it is. So don't believe them. Come to my YouTube channel frequently to get the latest and greatest updates, and subscribe so every time a new video comes out that you'll be informed to know what the real story is. So with that, I want to leave you this information and hope you guys have an awesome day.